Don Rafael de Sobremonte y Núñez del Castillo, 3rd Marquis of Sobremonte, was an aristocrat, military man and Spanish colonial administrator, and Viceroy of the Rio de la Plata. He was accused of cowardice by the people of Buenos Aires after escaping the city during the British invasions of the Rio de la Plata in 1806. He was born in Seville, the 27th of November 1745. His parents were the Marquis Raimundo de Sobremonte, military man and magistrate, Knight of the Order of Charles III and member of the Seville Audience, and María Ángela Núñez Angulo y Ramírez de Arellano. At 14 years of age, he became a cadet in the Regimiento de las Reales Guardias Españolas. He served in different locations, such as Cartagena de Indias, Ceuta and Puerto Rico. In 1779, he was named secretary to the Viceroy of the Rio de la Plata, Juan José de Vetis, with the rank of lieutenant colonel. He continued in that post with the successor, Nicolas del Campo. Family. Sobremonte married an Argentine lady, Doña Juana María de Larrazabal, having 11 children with her. Rafael de Sobremonte y Larrazabal, baptized in Buenos Aires, the 22nd of October 1783. Marcos José de Sobremonte, baptized in Córdoba, the 28th of August 1785. Ramón María Agustín de Sobremonte, baptized in Córdoba, the 9th of October 1786. José María de Sobremonte, baptized in Córdoba, the 4th of January 1790. Manuel de Sobremonte, baptized in Córdoba, the 11th of August 1792. María de las Mercedes de Sobremonte, baptized in Córdoba, the 31st of December 1793. Josefa Juana Nepomucena María del Carmen de Sobremonte, baptized in Córdoba, the 24th of April 1795. Juana de Sobremonte, baptized in Córdoba, the 19th of August 1796. José María Ramón de Sobremonte, baptized in Buenos Aires, the 19th of January 1798. José María Agustín de Sobremonte, baptized in Buenos Aires, the 20th of April 1799. Ramón José Agustín de Sobremonte, baptized in Montevideo, the 4th of August 1801. José Agustín María de Sobremonte, baptized in Buenos Aires, the 19th of April 1803. He married again at 75 years of age with Doña María Teresa Milán y Marlos, widow of a nephew of Baltasar Hidalgo de Cisneros, the last viceroy of the Rio de la Plata. Posts held by Sobremonte. Rafael de Sobremonte held various posts in the Viceroyalty of the Rio de la Plata, Viceroyalty Secretary, as a lieutenant colonel, during the Viceroyalty of Juan José de Vetis y Salcedo, Governor of Córdoba del Tucumán, Sub-Inspector General of Veteran Troops and Militias, President of the Audiencia de Rio de la Plata, Viceroy, Governor and Captain General of the Viceroyalty of the Rio de la Plata, Governor of Córdoba. From 1784 and for almost 15 years, he was Governor of Córdoba, distinguishing himself as an excellent administrator. He cleaned and repaired the city streets, or ordered the construction of the first water system, carrying running water to Córdoba from the Primero River, and also the construction of defenses against river flooding. He opened a free public school, and ordered the constructions of rural schools, created the civil law career at the University of San Carlos, improved the administration of the neighborhoods, started the first street lighting system and founded a women's hospital, improved the justice system which was lacking in Atencio due to the distance to Buenos Aires. During his administration he improved working conditions in the mines, and gave help to the mining industry in other provinces. He built small forts and towns to tried to defend against Indian raids. Rio Cuarto, La Carlota, San Fernando, Santa Catalina, San Bernardo, San Rafael, Villa del Rosario, etc. In 1797 he was named Inspector General of the Army of the Viceroyalty. In that capacity he labored to improve it to be able to resist an invasion from Brazil or England, specifically fortifying Montevideo and Colonia del Sacramento. Viceroyalty and the war with Britain. In April 1804, at the death of Viceroy Joaquin del Pino, he was named as his replacement as Viceroy of the Rio de la Plata. At the time, Great Britain and Spain were at war, creating the risk of an attack on Buenos Aires. He requested help from the Spanish courts, but the Prime Minister Manuel Godoy answered that he should defend as best as he could, with no help forthcoming. Believing there was a high probability of a British attack in Montevideo, he fortified that city and sent his best troops. It was the logical decision due to geography, and it would have been very difficult to dislodge them had they captured that fortified port city. The military of the Viceroyalty had suffered many casualties lately, particularly during the native uprisings of Tupac Amaru. All the help he obtained were a few cannons and the suggestion to arm the people for the defense. The Viceroy understood that arming the Creole civilian population, many of them influenced by revolutionary ideas, fomented by the American and French revolutions, was a dangerous strategy for the interests of the Crown. History would prove him right, as only 6 years later the Argentine movement for independence was started. He had few officers, mostly inexperienced and inefficient, and his navy was very weak. His army only had 2,500 men, most of them recruits with little or no experience with arms. As part of his defensive measures, he named the French Santiago de Liniers commander of the port of Ensenada de Barragan, about 70 kilometers south of Buenos Aires, with orders to attack the coast. Liniers sent him several warnings that the British had been seen exploring the coast of the River Plate. First British invasion. On the 24th of June 1806, while attending a theatre play with his family, the Viceroy received news that British ships have been sighted along the coast. A report from Liniers indicated it consisted of despicable corsairs, without the bravery and the will to attack. Sobremonte left the play early, going to Buenos Aires fort, where he wrote an order to organize the defense. The next morning, the enemy's ships were sighted again on the Buenos Aires coast, and cannon was shot from the fort with no effect. He was not sure if it would be an attack. He sent Brigadier Arce to repel any possible landing around the coastal city of Quilmes. Arce, commanding about 500 troops, let them land without attacking. Sure they could not cross the marshes that separated the beaches from the mainland. The invaders did cross, and Arce's troops retreated, allowing the British to march towards the city on June 26. About 1,500 troops, commanded by William Carr Beresford, landed from the ships commanded by Homeriggs Popham, the invasion plan's author. Sobremonte gave a speech, directing able men to join the militias. Organization was lacking, and not everybody was supplied with arms. Many muskets were supplied without proper shot, or flints, swords and sabers were not well maintained. His own officers accused him of the chaos and confusion, but did little to remedy the situation. The Viceroy attempted to form a defense by the Riachuelo, the city's southern border, ordering the burning of the Galvez Bridge. He moved his troops to the west, believing the British would cross upriver, where he could attack them. The British captured the river crossing boats, crossing to the north side. The defense failed there on the first attempt, and the Viceroy gave incoherent orders which added to the chaos and confusion. run away. Sobremonte left the city and decided to move to Córdoba, some 700 kilometers away. Since the time of Betis there was a regulation that stated that if Buenos Aires was attacked by a foreign invader and the capital could not be held, there must be a move to the interior of the country and organize the defense in Córdoba in order to defend the rest of the viceroyalty, and have a fighting chance to reconquer the capital with some chances of success. Above all, neither the viceroy nor his family should fall to the invaders, in order to avoid being forced to sign a capitulation. Sobremonte, accused of cowardice by many at the time, followed the directive by moving to Córdoba. Buenos Aires did not represent a significant portion of the economy of the viceroyalty at the time, and Sobremonte decided to consolidate his military position in Córdoba, reorganizing his forces, and trying to effect a reconquer of the capital over a military solid foundation, before reinforcements could be sent from Britain. He also understood that arming the populace for a defense implied giving effective power to the Creoles. With about 2,000 men, and carrying the royal treasure, the viceroy left for Luyan. He left the treasure there, which he could not carry due to the bad state of the roads in winter, then continued in the road to Córdoba. The local Buenos Aires militias abandoned him, for the most part because they did not want to leave the homes and families. Once the city of Buenos Aires was captured by the British, the local merchants offered him the public coffers in exchange for the boats, ships he had captured, and the private monies Sobremonte had taken. They wrote the viceroy, asking him for the handing of the treasure he had taken, and guided the British to the Cabildo Luyan. The invaders captured the treasure, sending it to London, where it was paraded in triumph on its way to the bank vaults. Reconquest and ouster. On the 14th of July, Sobremonte declared Córdoba temporary capital of the viceroyalty. He urged people to disobey any order coming from Buenos Aires during the occupation. He gathered the available troops, and a few weeks later he marched with 3,000 troops back to Buenos Aires. In the meantime, Núñez had brought the troops sent to Montevideo the previous year by the viceroy, joining them to the Buenos Aires volunteers being trained by Juan Martín de Pueyrredón and Martín de Alzaga. This army started retaking the city without waiting for the viceroy, accomplishing the task by the 12th of August. Immediately after the reconquest, Alzaga called for an open cabildo of the people of Buenos Aires to refuse the viceroy command of the city. Núñez was named army commander, and civilian authority was given to the Audiencia Real. The measures were revolutionary, as it deposed the king's representative. Sobremonte went to Montevideo with the remainder of his troops before it was invaded, as the British fleet had never left the River Plate. Montevideo's citizens, influenced by Buenos Aires's feelings, refused to fight the invaders under Sobremonte. He left the city in order to fight the British at the landing place, but his troops deserted. When Montevideo fell to the British, the open cabildo in Buenos Aires deposed him as viceroy, replacing him with Núñez. The citizen army fought this second invasion under Núñez and Alzaga, forcing the British surrender. This victory justified the viceroy's dismissal, and history has condemned Sobremonte. Bibliography: Sena, Miguel Angel, Las Brevas Maduras. Memorial de la Patria, Tomo I ed. La Bastilla, Bs. As, 1984. Garzón, Rafael. Sobremonte, Córdoba y las invasiones ingleses, ed. Corregidor Austral, Córdoba, 2000. Bischoff, Efraín. Historia de Córdoba, ed. Plus Ultra, Bs. As, 1989. Ruiz Marino, Isidoro J. Campanas Militares Argentinas, Thomas IY2, ed. A Messe, Bs. As, 2004–2006. Lozier Almazan, Bernardo, Martín de Alzaga, ed. Ciudad Argentina, Bs. As, 1998. Crónica Histórica Argentina, Tomo I ed. Codex Bs, as 1968.